Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 28 male, was disowned by my paternal family when I came out as gay. I was 19 at that time. As I was struggling financially, my aunt from my mother's side basically adopted me and conditioned that I finish my senior year. I dropped out and get my degree. Also, no bad habits like alcohol addiction, any crime, etc. Basically, I owed my today's success to my aunt. So 9 years passed. I have a stable job, my own house, lovely fiance, 32 male, and 2 adorable cat children. I thought I won't be hearing any news from my paternal family since I was disowned. I was wrong. I was contacted by my second uncle who contacted my aunt. He told me Grandpa passed away and he left me an inheritance. I didn't know what to say. I haven't thought of my grandpa for a long time. I was a little bit lost, but was more surprised that my traditional, religious grandpa left me something, as he was also one of the family members who didn't do anything when my dad disowned me. So I received the inheritance and plan to add this to my retirement because I don't really want anything as of now. I thought that was it, the end. It was not. My stepsister messaged me on social media demanding to return my inheritance to Dad, that I don't deserve it, that I'm not part of the insert surname family anymore. By the way, I changed my surname to my mother's. I didn't take her seriously and just blocked her together with my stepmother, father, and half-sibling because who knows? Yeah, who knows? My dad called me during working hours, shouting gibberish. I immediately hung up and blocked his number. Then another unknown number called, and I just blocked it. Then again. The last straw would be when my aunt called and told me their family went to her house, knocked on the gate, shouting to see me, etc. My aunt then threatened to call the cops, and they stopped. I was not angry when they harassed me. I just found them annoying. But I was furious when they harassed my aunt. I even thought of just giving my inheritance to them so they could stop, but they crossed my bottom line. So I used my inheritance to donate to 2 charities, Animal Welfare and Children's Charity. Then I posted on social media the receipts with a caption, in honor of Grandpa's name in heaven. I guess some of my paternal family found it because one of my cousins liked it. I just want them to know that the money was gone. And now my second uncle called me for disrespecting my grandpa. Am I the a-hole? I also feel a little guilty because my donation was not very sincere and innocent. Not the a-hole. Legally, the inheritance was yours to do with as you pleased. You did a wonderful thing. Please don't feel guilty. You could have just as easily blown all the money on a fancy car or thrown a lavish party. You helped a lot of animals and children. Not the a-hole. Not even a little bit the a-hole. Look, my preference would have been for you to use the inheritance to take care of yourself and your future, since your own family did not. But I can see why you were unable to do that. So you chose a brilliant and fantastic alternate option. They now sound like the absolute lunatics that they are when they say you're disrespecting your grandfather by, oh, how shocking, helping animals and children. OP, it was your inheritance. Your grandfather gave it to you, and you very kindly donated it in his name. You must surely know your ex-family is the a-hole here, and you are not the a-hole, not even a little bit. We had a family gathering over Easter, including my Auntie Dot and her daughter Louise, and Louise's family. Auntie Dot isn't related to us. She's married to my Uncle Lynn, who came out to Australia on the same ship as my dad, and they've been like brothers ever since. I'm going to be blunt. I don't like Louise. If I had my own way, I'd have nothing to do with her. But I love my aunt and uncle, and I'm Uncle Lynn's medical decision maker, so I have to suffer her presence. Uncle Lynn is in a nursing home because of his frail health. If I gave you the full list of my reasons for disliking Louise, I'd never get to the petty revenge. But here are the edited highlights. She does mean and hurtful crap, and then brushes it off with, but I didn't mean to, or I was only trying to help, or but I'm just saying what I feel. Including the time she tried to stop my sister from going to my mom's funeral 20 years ago, because they're fostered and not real family. The irony has been noted. She's also an Olympic hopeful in the heavyweight competition child-raising event. Auntie Dot and Louise arrived with a frilly green dress and matching bloomers for my 6-month-old. Vampira. She has 2 teeth and likes fingers. While I was settling the adult guests in and handing out chocolate ovoids to the younger kids, my partner Martin dressed Vampira in her new outfit. She looked like an adorable cross frog in a frock. Auntie Dot had a cuddle and asked Louise to take a couple of photos. Then Louise wanted a cuddle and started rattling on about how Vampira was 6 months old and can't sit up unaided. But her wonder kids, aged 5 and 7, were sitting up and playing the grand piano at 4 months. Okay, I'm exaggerating. They don't have a grand piano. When Vampira started getting squirmy and irritable, Martin said she probably had a tummy ache and tried to take her back. Louise kept saying she was good with babies and she would soon get Vampira settled. Martin and I were telling Louise in increasingly loud and firm tones to give her back, and Louise kept insisting Vampira would settle down for her. After a while, Vampira relaxed and gave Louise a toothy smile. Louise beamed back and said, "See, I told you." I remember getting a look from Martin that said, "Well, we tried." Seconds later, Louise shoved a wailing Vampira back at Martin and sprinted for the bathroom. You see, what I hadn't told Louise was that we've been introducing cereals into Vampira's diet, because a growing baby cannot live on fingers alone, and it hasn't been going well. Vampira had unleashed a punami, which leaked out of her nappy, up the back of the new dress, and onto Louise. And it was one of her most odoriferous efforts yet. Martin did a cleanup and complete outfit change, and gave Vampira her favorite teething dragon, so she was soon happy-ish. But the green dress and bloomers were beyond saving, and Louise's top might not make it either. All of which could have been avoided if she'd just handed Martin the baby when he'd asked. So's Lou, I'm not paying for a new top, but the petty revenge cherry on top of the baby poo sundae came at dinner. The meal started with pureed veggie soup, and my middle sister asked if Louise wanted to feed Vampira, seeing as you are good with babies. Louise angrily declined. I pretended to pout and accused Louise of hurting Vampira's feelings, saying, but she didn't mean it. I'd been waiting nearly 20 years for my chance to say that back to Louise, and it felt good. I just don't understand people who won't give a baby back, particularly to the parents. If Louise knows as much about babies as she claims, she should have known babies usually have a very good reason to be unsettled. Your daughter understood the assignment. She makes her parents so proud at such a young age. Some background about my family. 1. Parents are divorced since I was around 4 or 5 years old. 2. I'm the middle child. I have a big sister and a little sister, 8. 3. My mom had an affair with a married rich guy, I guess to pay for her children's needs, and had a daughter which became my little sister. After being divorced, my mom, along with the guy she had an affair with, moved to the capital city of my country. We were born in a remote island near the capital. I've always been kind of cut off by my mom, and have long suspected my mom to pay more attention to my big sister. For example, my big sister lives together with my mom, while I was put in another house with only a maid to help, and my sister could buy anything she wanted while I'm struggling to even ask for $5. So while I lived my childhood in poverty, my sister and mom lived royally. And then suddenly, my mom bore a daughter in the hospital. Back in the time, I didn't even know my mom was pregnant, so she having a labor was a big shock to me. Asking didn't help either. No one answered my question. This daughter will grow up to be my little sister. So after finishing high school, my mom told me to study abroad in Australia, living with my sis, as she went to live there a few years ago, with a catch. I'll have to pay for all my tuition and needs and wants there. She'll only provide the ticket, as she said she didn't have enough money. I remember thinking if she didn't have enough money then, how could she give my big sister $10,000? Long story short, I came to live in Australia with my big sister and her husband, and she told me to do all, yes, all, the housework, including hedging the garden, laundry, sweeping, and mopping, and taking care of her baby, while I still had to pay about $300 a month. In her house, I wasn't even allowed to cook or buy food, as she will say, "So you don't like my food?" and be angry for a few days afterwards. Day by day, they kept being more and more aggressive and angry with me. It culminated after 6 months, where they berate me for believing that I've misplaced the bottle of shampoo, from in the bath to on the table. I didn't even use that shampoo. Unable to take it anymore, I moved out to live by myself by renting a small room. I paid for all of that by my own hard-earned money. Only then I learned that my sister actually wanted to kick me out from the second month I'm there, to make room for her husband's mother. She even told Mom that I'm psychotic, just so Mom would help her to evict me. Then I learned that my mom gave her $40,000 as a down payment for her house. But she will have to let me settle on her house for at least 5 years, and to help me with my tuition. Clearly she didn't help with any of it, and even kicked me out after 6 months. In 2 years, I've completed my diploma. Unfortunately, my visa in Australia will expire soon, so I had to fly back to my hometown and live with my mother again while trying to take a bachelor's. That's when she said she wants me to pay for all my little sister's tuition and all her other needs. And she even told me to pay for when little sister studies abroad. I objected, saying that I will need money to build a family and to save for a house, and I can't fully pay around $3,600 a year. Average salary here is $4,000 to $6,000 a year. For her tuition, not including her needs and her wants to study abroad, which will cost around $10,000 a year, not including rent, food, etc. Mom then became very visibly upset and angry with me, saying how both my big sister and me are unreliable, and how the only one who cares about my little sister is her. I know that she's just worried about little sister's future, but I think her idea will just leave me in the debt hole. My question is, am I wrong to immediately object to her idea? I mean, yes, I can't afford paying, but that will leave me homeless and go in debt. You're wrong to even speak to that woman at this point. At what point has she even acted like a mother? You were an inconvenience then and a cash cow now. Duck her. Tell big sister she can give her back the money she should have used to help you. Little sister's father can pay for little sister. That is why your mom cheated after all, right? If you think you must, slowly pay her back for the plane ticket, and then tell her you are even and to never ask for anything again, as she so often put you aside for your sisters. Now she can rely on those sisters and good luck to her. Also, how can you be selfish when she has given so little to you for you to keep to yourself? You're absolutely not wrong to object. Just leave them. Honestly, they're awful, awful people. You should be allowed to live on your own terms, especially if it's by your own means. And at this rate, you're better off if you lose contact with them. Do you see? You absolutely can't pay for your sister's tuition. You have your own needs to tend to. So, my cousin is getting married next year, and she wants to go to the Maldives for her honeymoon. Last week, she invited me over for lunch with her parents. Everything was going well when she suddenly brought up her honeymoon. She started saying how much she wanted to go to the Maldives, but she can't afford it, etc. Then she asked me what I thought about it. My husband and I went to the Maldives on our honeymoon, and have been there a few times besides. Now that I think back on the conversation, she probably wanted me to back her up on how expensive it was. I interpreted it as she wanted more affordable options so she can still go. So instead, I was all, yeah, the Maldives is expensive if you want to go to a 5-star resort, but there are much more affordable options as well. My aunt asked me to explain. I told her that I've stayed at nice guest houses on local islands with bikini beaches and a floating bar for about £40 a night. And if a local island isn't your cup of tea, you can even look at a 4-star resort. You'd be saving money compared to a 5-star one. I hadn't realized I upset my cousin until I got a message from her stating that she thought I'd have her back on this, but I completely threw her under the bus. In summary, she wanted to go to a 5-star resort. She can't afford it, so she wanted her parents to pay for it. She brought me in to convince her parents about how expensive the Maldives is, so they'd be more convinced to help out. I tried to reason with her, but she's insistent she wants to go to an expensive resort or nothing at all. She also pointed out that my husband and I didn't stay at a guest house when we went for our honeymoon, which is true. We stayed at a resort. She's convinced that this makes me a hypocrite. Also, she didn't tell me that the lunch was just a way for her to convince her parents to pay for her honeymoon. She just assumed I would agree with whatever she said. I'm not entirely sure how to make up with her. She's still very upset at me. Not the a-hole. This falls under play stupid games, win very stupid prizes. She's an adult. If she wanted mommy to pay for her honeymoon, she should use her words and ask. Or better yet, save up the money herself to go. She tried to manipulate you, and then got mad that you dared to have the audacity to, checks notes, not be able to read her mind. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Firstly, she shouldn't expect a 5-star honeymoon if she can't afford it. Demanding her parents pay for her honeymoon is ridiculous. Second, good on you for not lying. What would happen if you lie for her and you got found out? She's not going to defend you. What an entitled little girl. She's a perpetual a-hole for lying to her parents and expecting you to cover for her. Some background. My parents have always made it clear that education was important to them. My grandparents couldn't help my dad through college, and he had to work multiple part-time jobs to support himself. He doesn't hold that against them, but he always told us how difficult it was and how working so much caused him to miss out on extra opportunities such as clubs, sports, social events, networking, etc. Because of that, he started saving for me and brother, and since we were kids, he made his deal super clear. If we got into college, he would pay for everything: living expenses, tuition, and extracurricular activities. I, female 22, always took that to heart, and my dad fulfilled his end of the deal for my undergrad. My older brother, male 29 on the other hand, didn't like school and dropped out after freshman year. He hasn't gone back since and has been living at home working part-time jobs on and off. I recently got into my dream grad program, and my dad offered to pay for my program. When my brother found out that my dad would be using his money, he lost it. My brother and his friends wanted to start a business and had planned on using that money for it. My dad said that he made it explicitly clear that the money would be used for school. Even if my brother went to community college, he would be able to use the money. But he refused to finish college, so my dad said that was on him and he wasn't entitled to the money. Plus, my parents still pay for my brother's living expenses, food and rent. So I personally feel like he got a fair deal. I know that school isn't for everyone, but my dad made it super clear what the money was for: education. My brother isn't talking to me anymore, and he's threatened to skip all future family functions, causing my mom to be really hurt and upset. I do feel like the a-hole because I want to take the money for my own gain, not being in debt from school, and it's been causing my mom a lot of stress. But on the other hand, I feel like it's my dad's choice, and my brother had 10 years to figure out going to school to get the money. Not the a-hole. Your brother sounds really entitled though. He can be mad all he wants, but it's your dad's decision, and if he hasn't used it at 29. Not the a-hole. Dad's money, dad's choice. I don't believe that everyone needs to go to college, and starting a business might be a great idea. But if your brother is still living at home and mooching off your parents, I doubt he has the drive to succeed in business. He doesn't even work full-time, for crying out loud. Not the a-hole. It seems as though your brother was assuming the money was just his to use as he wanted. He should have discussed his plans with your parents. Your parents probably also realize your brother, at 29, has shown no adult responsibility and probably wouldn't make it if he started a business.